Hi, welcome. I'm Paisley. Thanks for joining me for yoga today. You're going to need a blanket or 2 bath towels for this practice. We're going to start with this prop, so go ahead and grab that now. These props are going to be used to help us set the nervous system into a calmer state of being. What we're going to do is take a nice long rectangle. This can be 2 bath towels or 1 thick blanket like I have, and we're going to roll it. So it's going to be pretty long, and what's important here is that you roll it into a tight little roll. So it's creating some height. And we're going to lie on this in just a moment. You can use a soft foam roller also, not a firm one. It has to be full length. Okay, so once you have 2 blankets, so you would just keep rolling the second one on top of the first one to make the correct height. You're gonna sit on one end, right in the center, right in your tailbone area, and then you're gonna lie back so that your head is also on the left. And what you should feel is that your shoulders are slightly floating above the ground, and that this prop is pressing on the center of the back of your pelvis, up right between your shoulder blades, the center of the back of your head. This is a really nice exercise to do also if you've just been working on a computer or doing anything where you've been kind of hunched or rounded forward. Even if you've been standing a lot, this will be great. So let's take 3 slow centering breaths. Let's do that in through the nose and slowly out through the nose. And with the next 2, just really let gravity help your shoulders release toward the floor. We're slowing down just to give the nerves a chance to settle and the mind a chance to calm. And you may notice now that you've been on this prop for a few moments that there's a tiny bit of instability because it's round. And we're going to use that to our advantage. So we're going to take the hands and place them on the pelvis so that the elbows are floating above the ground. And keep the eyes closed and begin to just sway slightly from side to side on this prop. And what we're working with here is the fascial network and the nervous system response. So if you think about, like if you were to be walking down the sidewalk and suddenly trip, you wouldn't think step by step, 1, oh, I'm falling, 2, oh, I need to stretch my arm out and reach for that thing, and 3, ... The body just reacts. And part of the system that reacts is the nervous system through the connective tissue. And so what you're doing here as you're rocking very slowly side to side, almost like you're about to fall off the roll, and then some part of you, it's like you're not thinking about it, but it catches you and rolls you back to center. That part of you, it's like an inner guide, an inner navigator, or GPS. And so this gentle movement is giving a chance for the nervous system to reset in a centered way, where we can respond to what's happening around us more easily. So just a couple more times, very slowly. It might feel like not much is happening, but internally something is happening. Using the eyes in this closed position, we're using the inner sensory perception of balance. And that's what we're working with. So it's not going to feel like some big stretch. It's just a inner awakening, inner resetting. Okay, this will be the last pass of this very gentle, slow, side-to-side movement. It might feel almost like there's little speed bumps happening. Just go slow through those. And the next time that you find yourself centered back on this roll, pause there. Full exhale. When you inhale, you're going to tilt your tail down, pressing it into this blanket roll or towel roll or soft roller. And when you exhale, you're going to relax that effort and allow your pelvis and spine to return to neutral. So we're going to do this 2 more times. So on the inhale, it's an anterior tilt where you press the tailbone down and the low back gets lighter on the blanket or whatever you're lying on. And when you exhale, you just let go of that effort and return to whatever is neutral. You may feel some responses in the head and the neck. Let's do this one more time. My neck just popped actually from doing this. Let's do it again. Inhale, arching the low back away from the blanket to press the tail down. And then exhale to relax into a neutral shape. Then you're just going to free your arms, hovering them above the ground. You're going to open them palm toward the sky and reach the arms overhead. Take a few passes, like you're drawing that snow angel on the earth, but you're actually hovering because you're elevated on this prop. So just keep the hands slightly above the ground. Do this a couple times more, letting the shoulder blades hinge out and up when the arms come overhead, and back down and in as you reach the hands alongside the floor toward the hips. When you've done 3 to 5 of those, you're gonna release the arms back to the sides, kind of like Shavasana. Just rest them there, and we'll take one more breath in, eyes still closed. This time out the mouth. If you can, keep the eyes closed and just roll to your side. You can bring your arm up under your head or slide the blanket around so it's not under your back but under your head. And then just take a moment lying on your side. Turn the belly a little bit more towards the floor. We're just taking a slow transition to sitting. Maybe begin to blink the eyes open. And when you do sit up, try to use your hands to help you. And there's a chance that you might be a little bit dizzy or disoriented when you get to sitting. So we're going to go slowly because we did work with the nervous system and things got reset and we don't want to disturb that. Take your blanket, just fold it in half. So you unroll it, fold it in half, and sit on that folded edge. Make it higher if it's hard for you to sit cross-legged or sit on the floor in general. And then find that upright posture of mindfulness where the head is floating roughly above the hips. Then close the eyes again. Take some attention down into the pelvis. When you inhale, broaden the breath so the ribs move out side to side, and lengthen it so the spine rises toward the ceiling. Keep the space, but when you exhale, relax your shoulders. Blink the eyes open if they're closed. And just like we did on the roll, we're going to inhale the arms up, out, and overhead. When you exhale, you're going to lean to your right in a simple side bend, supporting with the bottom hand. Put some weight in your right hip. Find a position with your top arm that's not causing you any pain in your shoulder. And then holding this side bend, begin to rotate your neck, look down past your bottom arm or near it. And then bring your head through the center, rotating at the neck. Don't come out of the side bend, just turn your gaze and look up past your left arm. Do this twice more. Rotate the head, look down, staying in side bend, hold time. Rotate the head, look up. Last time. So we're crossing the midline with the gaze, with the rotation of the head, and this is also working with the nervous system, in particular with the vagus nerve. And then we're going to come upright, and we're going to lift the right arm and use the left hand to pull the head just gently over to the left. So doing some work with the neck can help tone the vagus nerve. And the front of that, the ventral branch of the vagus nerve, is the part that's going to help us put the brakes on the stress response. Now, when you breathe in, you're going to release your head and just drop your hands. And again, pause to ground yourself. So we're not doing hard things in quotes. Cross your legs the other way if they're crossed. But what we are doing, it's a more subtle level, but it can be disorienting because it's working with the eyes and the nerves differently. On in-breath, take your arms overhead. And that's why we're just taking time, slowing down, letting the nerves have this opportunity to calm, the mind to be calm, and the reset to happen. So go on and lean over to your side and find an appropriate place for your side bend. Try to anchor that right hip down. See that the breath is smooth and easy, and begin to rotate your head. So turn the gaze, turn the head. You can actually look with your eyes, spot something on the ground. Stay in the side bend and rotate the head and look up. And again, you can see that this is a slow movement with the head. So go slow, rotating again. 2 more times, down and up. And if you have some spots in the neck that seem like Rice Krispies are popping in there, or it's like you're I don't know how to describe it, like bumping through it, it's not a smooth movement, try to go slow through that. Slow down where it seems to be more jerky movement. Last time, the head's going to come back up, gazing out past the right elbow. Find center with your gaze. When you inhale, sit up, pick up the left arm, drop your head over to the right, and add the weight of your right hand on the side of your head. So don't think so much of like yanking on your head, just giving it a little more weight so that you can stretch open between left shoulder, left ear. Spacious breath, wide and long. Focusing on the ease that comes when you exhale. And then again, inhale and just drop the hands and return the head to center, and let the eyes and the brain reorient to upright. Now that you've completed that breath, just take the blanket that you were sitting on and move that off to the side. From here, please find your way to all fours. And go right into downward facing dog. If it's too early in the practice for you to do that, or that feels too hard, you can do puppy pose, which is dog pose on the knees. And then just take a glance at your feet, try to line them up with one another. Give a small bend to your knees. Push the ground down away from your head and send the hips high to decompress your spine. try to tip enough of the sitting bones up that the low back goes in. So tip enough that the low back goes in. It's like when you were on the roller or the blanket, you inhale, tilt the tail up. Lift the front of the ribs in balance to that, and just try to hold still and be a container for your breath and this inner state of calm that we're cultivating in this practice. And it's possible that your legs might begin to grow straighter, but try not to lose the length in your spine and the little bit of lumbar curve alignment that you created when you tipped the sitting bones up. Stay in that shape a little bit longer, even though there's that tilt in the pelvis. Lift the pit of the low belly down between the front hip bones. Lift that up for support. Broad breath into the side ribs and up into the chest. Patience, just be patient. I know you've been here a while. Just give your body the chance it needs. Your brain will want to go faster. Just hold still. One more inhale through the nose. And exhale out the nose. You're going to start to walk forward. You don't have to go all the way to your hands, but just set yourself in a forward fold with your feet about as wide as your mat. Now I'm going to turn so that you can see in case you need to look for clarity purposes. With the feet like shoulder or outer shoulder width apart, exhale and take the head down. So it's not really the standard Uttanasana position. It's a little bit wider. Just give your neck some space. Let it hang. And then you're going to slide your chest to the right. Slide your belly toward the right leg. Walk the right hand farther over to the right. And then take your left hand and grab the front of your shin or ankle and gently pull your belly over toward the right leg. So think of this almost like you're twisting to the right with your abdomen. Trying to line your navel and your nose up with your right leg. So gentle pull across the shin with the left hand. Notice the deep sensation of stretch that's happening in that outer right leg, the lateral side of your hamstrings, perhaps your IT band. Try not to fight it. You can always bend your knee a little bit if it's too much. You don't want to have that stress response come back. So make the edge softer if it becomes a reflex to grip for you. Please slide your weight back to center. Just put both hands down. On the in-breath, take Ardha Uttanasana. Push down into your fingertips. You can use your hands on your shins too. Back bend the chest away from the floor. Take the gaze forward and make the spine long. When you exhale, dive back into this forward fold with the feet, that outer shoulder width apart. Now slide to the left. Belly is kind of like you're shearing, like a lateral movement with the torso over towards the left leg. Use your right hand across the front of your shin. Pull the shin to the right and take your belly over to the left. It's almost like you're trying to put your right ear on the outside of your left knee. Now, that's just like a signpost. That doesn't mean you have to get that far. So if that made you strain, just be aware that that's going to trigger a stress response, and that's the opposite of what we want to create in this practice. So calm, smooth breath, soft eyes, maybe closed eyes. Does that left leg need to bend a tiny bit in the knee in order to let go, or is straight working for you? We carry a lot of like armor in the outer hips, the outer legs. It tends to be very tight there and also often very weak. So this is just going to help stretch that out and free up that area. Good job for sticking with it. Come back to center. Again, we'll do the same thing. Inhale and pull the spine away from the hips to decompress it, just like when you were in dog pose. Think of the neck as part of that, to lengthen there. And then exhale and fold forward. And when you inhale again, find your way back to downward facing dog, just setting the pose up as you exhale, settling into it. Couple more breaths, stay with it. Just stay with yourself here. Make that inner connection. And when you exhale again, please drop your knees and come into child's pose. Let go of all the tension around the back of the heart. These deep muscles where the neck is connected to the torso. And just go slow like you did earlier when you sit up. Go kind of push with your hands. Make your way back upright. We're going to lie on our back next. If you have a yoga belt, you can grab that for this part. If you don't, it's not a problem. I'll give you an option instead. I'm going to suggest that you make a small roll for your neck as a cervical support, and that your head is on the blanket. So if you have a blanket, maybe try that. If you don't, no big deal. Sometimes it's just nice to have that little bit of support. So go ahead and lie down with the belt nearby if you have one, and if you don't, again, no biggie. Okay. Good. Feel that support of the ground beneath you. Let your weight really rest down. You want to feel, if you are using a cervical roll, that it's kind of touching and giving a gentle lift to the back of your neck, but not so much that it's really pushing hard on your neck. Okay, so step your right ankle up onto your left knee. Pause right there. And take your right hand to the top of your right thigh. You're going to gently press with your right hand to allow some external rotation, moving the right hip and right knee away from your head. Try to do minimal work in your arm and no work in your right hip, right leg. Imagine the breath moving down into the right hip. We know that oxygen really only gets into the lungs and through the lungs to the blood. But the prana, this vitality that we breathe in, the chi, it can move wherever we want it to. Soften the pressure with your right hand. Just drop your hand out to the side. You're going to close the space between the knees, so you're knee to knee cross now. Move your hips just slightly to your right, and then tip your knees over to the left. This is a deeper twist, and if it's disruptive to you or if it's hurting your low back, just uncross the right leg, stack it on top of the left. Bend your right elbow and put your right fingertips on your chest or shoulder area. As you exhale, encourage that area to release. You don't really have to push very hard, but your sense of touch, touching your own skin, will wake up your the presence or the awareness of that part of your body. The sensory clarity gets brighter. So every exhale, just trying to relax into the twist, not fighting it. And then slowly release both the arm, the hips, and the cross legs. Just kind of readjust so that you're straight on your mat. And this is where if you have the belt, you'll grab it. We're going to go into the same leg, that's the right one. And you're going to take the ball of the foot into the belt if you're using one. And you're going to take that leg vertical. Now, if you don't have a belt, just hold around the back of your leg with your hands. Now, again, just like when we were in the forward fold, if it's too much to straighten the leg, if your leg is not letting go, then bend your knee a little bit. Like, we don't need to pull on the low back so much that we cause a problem later. Like, we've got enough problems there in the world right now in the low back. So we're really just picturing length from hip to foot, even if the knee is bent. And I want you to also relax the crease of your right thigh, right at the top of the leg where it meets the abdomen. Soften there. Now we're going to stretch the left leg out too. And even though you can't see it, it's going to do the same kind of work as the right leg. So both legs are nice and long. Maybe even the toes can spread a little bit. It's a fun way to wake up the mind. Stay in it just a little longer. Find the breath, wide and deep, long and slow. You're going to transition, if you have a belt, both pieces into the left hand. Now, if you don't have a belt, you can use your hand, left hand on the inside of your upper left leg for this. So you're going to take your foot slightly across your midline to the left. So think of it only like maybe 6 inches. So you're not actually tipping over in the pose. Keep your hips level on the mat. And just bring the leg over slightly to the left. With your right hand, a similar action to what we did before, you're going to push at that same spot I just mentioned, right at the top of the thigh. You're going to grab your outer thigh and you're going to push that away from your head. And this may cause the leg to turn out, so the toes may turn to the right, that's fine. And just allow again that outer right leg to begin to receive the stretch. Now I feel this also up into my low back a little bit, like that's letting go. It feels like a good stretch there. It's not overdoing it. But if it is feeling like too much sensation, or it's making you hold your breath or grit your teeth, bend your knee. Once someone thought there was a rule that all legs had to be straight in these poses, but let's not hurt ourselves. Soften the brow. I know this can be kind of boring and a long, slow stretch, but it will give lots of good result when we're done. Good job. Unhook the hand and just release the belt and take your foot down for a moment. Rest like you're in Shavasana with your legs outstretched. These pauses where you get to feel the effects of what you did also help you integrate those effects. So you notice the changes, and this creates kind of a reward loop where you see, oh, it's working, feels good. That'll help you continue to do these kind of practices to relieve stress and strain. And for most people, the right leg will feel longer. Maybe it feels heavier, maybe it feels lighter. Let's bend up the knees and lift the left ankle now onto the right knee. Use your left hand and put it at the top of your thigh. Push your thigh away from your head. So you're letting your hips turn a little bit. The left hip will move away from your head in a way that makes left side waist longer. And again, try to do as little work as possible in your arm and no work in your leg. Your left leg is doing really only just trying to stay on the knee. But right in that hip, you're trying your very best to let go and receive the stretch. It took me a really long time to learn how to work one area and not another. It's like I was a noodle or I was rigid for many years. So if this is a little bit complicated, nothing's wrong with you. Don't worry. You will learn. Breathe some space into the left hip. Now when you exhale, just let go with that hand and cross your left knee over your right so that you close up the gap between the legs. Shift your hips a little bit to the left and then drop your knees over to your right. Now again, if this is too severe, you can do a few things. Obviously, uncrossing the legs would be an option. You could also support under the top knee, not have it quite so deep. So just find an appropriate way for your body to be able to stay in the shape. And once you've got that adjusted, bring the left fingertips to your left shoulder. You kind of have like a little chicken wing shape there. And what you're doing is using your own sense of touch to wake up awareness in the left shoulder. Now, touch is also one of the hacks that can get into the vagus nerve. The front branch of the vagus nerve is the part of the vagus nerve that we associate with like the touch, eye contact, voice, things that relate to community and others, something that we're missing so much of being together right now. This will help calm the stress response and also release oxytocin, right? That's the love hormone, skin to skin. You're touching your own skin, or maybe you're on your shirt, but awareness of left shoulder, perhaps feeling that sensation of touch, even though it's just you touching you. Letting that calm you just for one more moment. Okay, release out of the pose back to center. Straighten out your hips. Find your belt if you're using one. You can always use like a scarf or a kitchen towel, maybe. An old tie. I mean, does anyone wear ties anymore? Bet you have one in your closet, or your husband does. Somebody does. Someone you know. Okay, if you're not using a prop to hold your leg, just use your hands on the back of your thigh. Aim in the direction of sole of the foot above the hip, butt on the ground. And even if the left leg needs to be slightly bent, you're thinking about the length of that leg. Trying to hold with the arms in a way where they're not madly white knuckle gripping. It's kind of hanging on the belt, or just holding gently on the back of the leg. Let's stretch the right leg out on the ground. So that usually intensifies the stretch. That's why I gave that pause with the right leg also bent. So both legs can bend if that's better for you. But there's some energy in them. They're not sleeping, right? The right one is reaching, the left one is rising. Maybe the toes are spread, waking up a little bit. If you are using a belt, you're going to put both pieces of the belt in the right hand. And then you're going to move the foot maybe 6 inches to the right. So if your pelvis is staying level on the ground, that's your landmark. If you take the top foot too far to the right, you'll start to tip over. Don't go that far. You can pull it up a little bit towards your head if you want, but don't take it too far to the right. With your left hand, you're gonna I like using my thumb at the top crease and then push with your palm and move your outer left hip away from your head. Now this may cause your leg to externally rotate or turn out. Fine, that's fine. The right one might join that party, not the end of the world. What we're targeting is the outer hip, the outer side of the lateral side of the hamstrings, and the IT band. Now I just found that I was totally gripping in my inner thigh and the top of my hip, so I had to bend my knee a little bit. So just check in and see if you're kind of fighting it or tensing in a way that you can stop. This side is definitely the less intelligent side of my body. I have to think about it harder. And most people have one of those. So don't be mad at this side. Don't force it. Just try to work with what you can. Give it a clearing breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. And then again, we will release, take the belt away, and stretch the leg out on the ground. See how things feel compared to before, when you just had done one leg. Okay, shift the attention now up to the head and neck. We're going to do one more thing here while we're lying down. You're just going to slowly rotate the head from side to side, and you can keep this cervical lift if you have it. If you don't have it, that's fine. And as you roll the head right and left, just notice if there's anywhere that you feel resistance, tension, pain. How far does it go? Is it easier one way or the other? Just whatever you might notice. How about your neck right now? Once you've registered some information, just bring the head back to center. You're going to use your hands, you're going to put them right behind your head, like a little pillow, and just let the elbows fall open to the sides. We're coming back to a nervous system reset using the eyes. First, open the eyes. The head is pointing straight up to the sky. With just your eyes only, look to the right. Don't look so far that your eyes hurt or are straining. Just go some way to the right. Now, I learned this from a friend of mine, Chris Morris. She learned it from Dan Spiegel, I think. Can't quote you for sure 100% on that, but what we're doing is we're waiting for a letting go. Okay, again, we're working with the eyes through the nerves, through the vagus nerve, crossing the midline of the brain with the eyes, doing this, and we're looking for a sigh or a deep intake of breath, perhaps a swallow or a yawn, or just a sense of like, oh, everything just let go. And you may or may not feel that. If you do, then you can just bring your eyes back to center. But if you don't, you would wait here maybe a minute, not much longer, with the eyes fixed in one place, not the head turning, just the eyes. And now bring the eyes back to straight up overhead. So just pause there. Eyes are open but soft. Still have the hands clasped behind the head, elbows just relaxed wide. Head doesn't move, just the eyes go to the left. Again, not so far left that they're straining, but maybe you see your elbow in your peripheral vision. And we're just gonna hold a minute or less. Eyes in one place. You can blink. And just waiting for this subtle letting go to happen. Maybe a sense of ease comes over you, or you yawn, or you take a deep breath in or out. Maybe you swallow like you weren't expecting to. And then again, just bring the eyes to center. And release your hands. Take hands to abdomen. Again, using your sense of touch to wake up awareness here. Inhale up into your hands. Trying to get all of the belly to lift up and out. And when you exhale, say, full deep inhale, right and left sides of the belly pushing up and out. Different sound this time when you exhale. One more. Trying to get both sides of the ribs and belly to move. This time it's the S sound, like a snake. You can take a normal breath now and begin to drift into Shavasana. Those sounds just activated different parts of the abdominal wall, got the diaphragm moving in a different way. And diaphragm is one of the first places that we begin to grip up under stress. Now, all this work you've done has been to allow you to rest here calmly and quietly, so please don't get up and rush off. Try at least to stay for another few moments. If you feel sleepy, that's actually a good sign, and typically we don't want to fall asleep in Shavasana. But that means our calming practice, calming reset worked. You can stay a little longer if you like, but if that's enough time for you or you need to move on, just begin to stretch the fingers and the toes. Ooh, the wrists of the arms. It's like you're waking up from a nap. Spend a knee or two and roll over to your side. Don't go straight to sitting upright. That's going to be very jarring, and it will negate everything you just did. Take that slow pause on your side, just like we did earlier. And take a lot of time in a gentle transition Just sitting back up. Again, you might have a little bit of a feeling of being dizzy or disoriented. And that's why we're moving slowly, one of many reasons. Let's take a pause to see how you feel, or perhaps just go off into your meditation. I appreciate you practicing with me. I am trying to grow this channel, so if you haven't subscribed, I would appreciate that. And please share, because I think we all need to be more calm and centered at this point in time. From my heart to yours, thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you next.